Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our LinkedIn Live with Gina London. Gina, we're here again.
We are here again, and it is the middle of July, or almost the end of July already.
I know, and we have the same topic because the last time we had a technical glitch.
It's true. And we are not too proud to acknowledge it because things happen, and we wanted to still bring the topic to you here in the summer. I just got back from a summer holiday with my family, but many of you who might be out there listening or listening to the recording, either live or in the recording, might be preparing to go visit your family. And even though I normally speak about communications and relationship building in an employer context, the real reality is that we don't have a personal life and a professional life. We just have a life, and sometimes that requires us to hang out with family.
Yay, family.
The
Yeah, which is,
dreaded other F word. No, I'm just kidding.
well, it's great. And just to acknowledge, like sometimes people don't all have families that they get on with, and some people have great families. So I suppose what we want to share today is just a few tips because it is a time, especially with the lovely weather that we had there recently, where people are having barbecues. They're actually saying, well, why don't we just get together? Let's have a picnic together or whatever. So what would you recommend if you get invited? First of all, if you get invited to a family event, but you don't really want to go, let's
Well, let's give it some broader context before we jump into the invitation, which I think is a great one. And a reminder, too, that we're speaking to a global audience. You can be
yeah,
anywhere in the world right now, it can be any time of day.
yes.
And as we were just alluding to, you can be going to an event with a family. You can be planning a family getaway with your immediate and extended family. You could have teenagers in tow. You could have siblings that you see once or twice a year, maybe. And if you all live in the same, I don't live in the same country as
Mm.
my family. So I only see my family once or twice a year. And that means there's more pressure to have success in that one event because the lingering effects, good, bad, in the middle, create that memory that stays on then, and you need to either build upon or try to rebuild upon for the next one. So I want to try to set the scene for a lot of different dynamics out there when you live across the street from your parents and their grandparents to your kids or something like that. Then that's a different dynamic because you see them. We think about our relationships. First of all, let's go back to the reminder about what communications is. Communications is the way that we purposefully connect with others.
Mm.
And the reminder, too, that all of us, your families are not any different than any other human beings on the planet. They have patterns of how they've behaved and how they communicate, and so do you. So when we are talking about communications, it's a two-way street. The things that we're going to be talking about here are not fail safe because the other person involved, that two-way street situation, they might not be operating under the same level of awareness or the same level of choices or even understanding of these choices or desire of impact that I hope you are. But to try to live in a peaceable kingdom with our families is what we're talking about here today. So that's, I think, my opening salvo is to remind we can't control others, but we can control ourselves. And the outcome of that awareness and the choices around that, nor typically in my experience, will become more successful if we take ownership, we take responsibility. Remember that words create worlds, and you can't control their words, but you can control yours. Is that okay for a setup?
Yeah, great. Continue. Brilliant.
Thank. So let's talk about then, but let's think about particular incidents or situations or opportunities about family and
Mm.
events with family. We were talking about summer holidays, but we also talked about that one-off event. Maybe it is the summer barbecue where people are being gathered together for one afternoon or a couple of hours. So the first thing that I would say is knowing that everything is situational, that different family dynamics, who's being invited? Is it crazy Uncle Fred? Is it your brother that is really bombastic and always up for a fight? Is it your sister who's a little bit picky and, oh, you gained a couple of pounds, didn't you? Or, oh, why did you wear that outfit? Could be your mother-in-law, could be your mother, could be, I mean, there's so many different types of people. So it's important, I think, for all of us, each of us, to first of all accept that.
Yeah.
Number one, accept that the family, unlike you can hold it together with your colleagues, maybe at a function for a couple of hours, because one, they don't know you as well as your family.
Yeah.
The comfort level of a family can lead to more discomfort than the comfort level of colleagues. And we call that the relationship architecture. So I've talked about this before, the idea of how, if you can imagine for the architectural visualization piece, you're at the Eiffel Tower. And at the base of the Eiffel Tower, it's people that you really don't have a ton of connection with. They might not know every facet of you. You are probably on your most professional, formal, polished version of you. You're not letting your guard down. This is not about being inauthentic, but it's about being wise. And the idea of the interview you when you're going to go meet someone to try to get a job. As you begin to maybe get that job and get to know that person that interviewed you and those other people, now you're sort of at maybe a couple of staircases up on the Eiffel Tower. And so you've shared a little bit more personally, or you've asked hopefully them about themselves more personally. You're getting to know their style of communication. Are they more rational? Are they more emotional? Do they like to talk about their weekend, or do they really stick to business? And you're making more informed choices. Now, by the time family comes along at the top of the Eiffel Tower in the observatory, they've been with you probably since maybe you were born. Or if it's a blended family, that comes with its own set of dynamism, because some people are birthright siblings, some people might be steps or halves, and all of that brings its own complexity. So let's start with the awareness of your relationship architecture with each of those people, because once you think about this stuff, then you can start to make some strategies and some decisions and some choices for them. And now people, oh, I don't want to spend that much time thinking about all of that before I go to a barbecue. I get it. And yet, once I click through these little checklists, it doesn't have to be an extraordinary amount of time. But what we're doing here is we're becoming conscious communicators. Remember, the whole part about who we are is that we're not just pinballs in a pinball machine. We can take more control. It requires some effort, right? Thinking takes effort. That's why most people just judge.
Yeah.
So think about who's coming.
Yeah.
Think about the categories of who's coming. Think about the relationship comfort that you have with who's coming. You might even think about why. Did you say something? Let's own our own responsibility for our relationships as well. Not everybody is the crazy Uncle Fred. Maybe you're the crazy Aunt Gina, and you need to take a little ownership on that and dial that down.
Yeah.
Do you have a tendency to make a flip comment? Do you slide into sarcasm with your family? Are you overly offended? It's helpful to do some inward reflection, not just, oh, that person and that person and that person. Well, also, where am I? Because we all have a timeline of our interactions with our family. And if you have had a bad text or a bad interaction with someone recently, and maybe you're harboring some resentment, or you know they're harboring some resentment about you coming into this barbecue, can you even the playing field before you get to the event? Hey, Brother Bill, I'm sorry I snapped at you a week ago when you were talking about yourself and I wanted to talk about me, or you were talking about your 100,000 euro renovation on your house and I'm in between jobs right now. Whatever it is, think about each of your relationships do you need to make a little bit of mea culpa before the event? Why would you wait to at the event if there's a discomfort there? And plus, you have the potential of maybe sending it as a text as opposed to having it as an in-person confrontation. So think about that might be an easier way to try to resolve that issue. So do we have issues? What can we do with this? The whole is under the preparation part. We haven't even said yes or no to the invitation. I'm assuming we're not hosting the barbecue, right? Sam,
Yes.
we're going to somebody's barbecue.
Yes.
Okay. So plan, think, consider, repair if you can on your own. Now, next, even if you can't go, you can still do some of those things, by the way, because this reflective piece is all of a very important part about how we develop and grow as conscious connecting communicators. Reflection is really important. Again, most people just live their lives as that little pinball in the pinball machine, reacting and bouncing and reacting, and then they wonder why things aren't going as well, or relationships aren't as solid, or they're not owning their own wake of a damaged situation, and they're busy just bouncing up. Well, this isn't gonna be any fun, so I'm gonna go there, but it's not gonna be. Well, of course it's not gonna be any fun, because you already just told yourself it's not going to be any fun, and B, you probably haven't given it that preparation thought that I just explained. Now, alongside those preparation ideas is also, if you do accept, and I'm presuming we are accepting this, if you can't go because of a real reason, give the reason. And dependent upon the mechanism of which your family is communicating, is it by phone? Is it by, most people are now, I think, even if you're in the United States, you've got like FaceTime or something. You're not maybe using WhatsApp as much as we do in Europe and other parts of the world. But if you've got a mechanism for how you're communicating with your family, don't just tell one person that you can't make it. Because if you tell your sister you can't make it, but your brother's made the invitation, now you've already got protocol disruption within the family.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, think about it.
Okay.
When we talk about stakeholder management in a corporate setting, we don't want to tell our regional vice president if we should first tell our direct supervisor. Because then the direct supervisor is going to feel that you went around them and now you've got a discord here. So think about the order or the collective of how you're even going to respond to that invitation. Now, if Sam is my sister and she invites me and I can go, I can just directly tell her, that's fine. But if my brother Bill, that's not my brother's name, invites me, and I say to Sam, oh, I don't really want to go, or I can't. Now we've just got this whole grapevine going. Better hop on a call or hop on the text and tell brother Bill what's going on. Secondly, trying to make as many variations as I can here. You don't want to go. Now, this is a tricky one, because if you don't want to go, the first question is why? If you don't want to go, and the question why is because Bill and I haven't gotten along for the last 6 months, and I don't feel like seeing him now, and I'm not real. This is a time for introspection, not just projecting onto him. What's going on with you? What's at stake for this family relationship? How can you possibly use this as an incremental move forward? One option is to say, hey, Bill, back to the idea of owning your responsibility. I know we had tough words, or I know things didn't go great the last time we were together. I really appreciate your invitation, and I'd love to come for about a half an hour or an hour. Is that okay? I've got some other things going on. You don't have to get real precise, but what you've done is you've bought yourself a small bite of that apple, as opposed to committing to hanging out for the 4 hours. And if there's going to be drinking, I mean, things get a little more agitated when family, depending on where they go. If there's alcohol involved, let's just be honest.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to pop in. I've got something else. I would try to frame it positively. If you get an invitation for something from a family member that you've had some disruption with, then I would also try to presume positive intent from them and mark that. When you signal positivity, thanks so much for that invitation. I really appreciate it. And I know we haven't had a chance to really resolve whatever that is. That way you're not sweeping things under the carpet. This whole idea of avoidance is really never a solution, because the problems don't go away. They just get pushed under. People remember those things.
And can I just say something?
Please jump in.
You know what's funny? Because I remember a similar situation where, it was like, and said, oh, I know we haven't resolved that issue. And it was like, what issue? They didn't even know what I was talking about. Sometimes it's in our own heads.
Could be. And that's actually another thing that's another reason why it's more important to get it out.
Yeah.
If you think, oh, that, we argued about that game back at Christmas time or whatever. Like, I don't even remember doing that game.
Exactly.
And that way you have an opportunity then to say, back to my fictitious brother, Bill, thank you for that, because I'm so glad we've cleared the air, because I've been carrying that on. Now, he might say, well, gee, what happened? Now you have to be sensitive, because this is where you don't want to suddenly scrape open a wound that he doesn't even necessarily have. And again, considering or trying to frame with positive intent that he's not going, what situation, when he really knows. I mean, these are the layers that come with family that don't always come as much with work people, depending on how well you know them. You might say, oh, well, we got sideways, which is different than, it's that time that you called me an impatient or cheating or like, don't reopen.
Yeah.
If you can go past, you go, well, I'm sorry, because I'm sorry too, because I was carrying this on board. There are all sorts of levels of how big was the infraction, how deep was the crime, what level was a misdemeanor, or I'm not presuming that everything is that solvable through a text or through a quick call, but you make a very good point. We very likely sometimes are carrying things in our minds about, usually it's when we get offended. Usually it's not us about, oh, I feel really so bad because 6 months ago I spoke out of turn. Usually it's like they spoke out of turn. We tend to feel our own hurts more than we can be empathetic about the hurts of others. So
it's like, but I do know sometimes, it's for me, I try and think what instead of what's in this for me, it's kind of, I try and think, well, what can I bring? How can I bring value to this event in some way?
And do you think that precisely for your own family?
I
think it's great. I think that takes great effort. And I think most people, if they're honest with themselves, they don't do it as instinctively. And it's a muscle that needs to be exercised like anything else. And so, but you are right. I certainly agree with that. And I would encourage that for myself and for anyone else. What can I bring? How can I see my uncle and my brother? How can I compliment them on the progress they're making or the efforts that they're making? Or how can I ask more questions? Now this gets into the prep. So we've accepted now.
Yeah.
And we've created the boundaries on whatever that acceptance is. Oh, I can come, but I have to leave at 5. I can come and I'm going to stay the whole evening and help you wash up. Be aware, though, that these things need a little bit of structure. Sometimes if you are reluctant to attend and you attend with very open-ended, no guardrails, well, of course, you're not necessarily setting yourself up for as much success as if you put a little more structure. Another structure piece, by the way, and then we'll talk about more of the value you can add, is if it's a very fractured family, and I'm speaking as an American with the complexities of the division in the United States right now around the MAGA, do we talk about Trump? Do we talk not about Trump? I have some, not many, but I have one in particular who would be supportive of more of that style, others who would not be. And so we said right out of, before I was home for the week for this past vacation, this past holiday, we said politics and religion off the table, off the table. And everybody kind of laughed and joked. But you know what? We followed it.
Yeah.
We followed it. And it seems like maybe it's an over-indexing when we talk about it here. But if you can pop it into the chat, certainly don't do it as people are coming in the door, because that's going to catch them off guard and make it feel awkward. If you can say beforehand, everybody's bringing this. If you're close, obviously, if you're flying in, you don't have to bring a covered dish to the event, to the lunch or the picnic or whatever. But you can say, and leave your politics and whatever the contentious issues are. Let's leave those behind. Let's talk about the great value. And then make yourself a little checklist. Now we're getting to the ways you can add value. I am sure your family members' kids have grown. I am sure they have other things they're excited about at work. I'm sure there are. What have you read? What podcasts are you listening to? What I don't know, Instagram reel have you begun following? What influencer are you tell me about the latest whatever. Find some questions so that it doesn't tend to just deteriorate into the standard sort of family, that doesn't elevate it. You can elevate it. My sister, for example, when we were having our meals in the evening, she would kick them off every single evening. One good thing today. Let's start off our entire meal. One good thing that happened today. And her teenage daughter and my teenage daughter initially kind of rolled their eyes, but boy, they did it. And it sets the tone for that whole meal. And so these kinds of curated elements might feel silly to you, this whole idea of, but guess what? The corporate icebreakers, like, describe something or tell about your vacation or tell about your favorite superhero, these types of things. People might eye roll initially, but when they get into it, watch how it changes the dynamic of that conversation. And I've even done with family things before. I said, you know what? We never talked about this. And I have a little silly hat or a little bowl, and I folded up little pieces of paper with favorite action movie, favorite memory from our childhood, favorite birthday that we haven't talked about in a while, or favorite pet that we just put in some topics that you can also start to have different conversation than where it could necessarily tend to go. So this type of structured preparation and having actual activities for conversation in those meals, which they can become frustrating if everyone's just going, well, that's great barbecue, or oh, these ribs are really nice, or oh, that potato salad, which is fine. But the banalities, if you're happy with that, then that's great. But if they can tend to then sidetrack in the areas that you don't feel comfortable with, and if you've reflected, as we said already, on past interactions and thought, I didn't love the way that went because all we did was talk about the potato salad. Maybe that's fine for you. But if you want to bring it to a different level, make the effort. I know you guys are going to think this is corny, but I was thinking about our family and how much I value your word, Sam, our family, and these important times are so infrequent, or maybe but for me, they're treasures. So let's just, everybody, who would like to pull out a thing, and what's the first thing that comes to your mind? If everybody goes, no way, I'm not going to do that. Well, sorry. But then I'll start, But it's interesting how many other people have told me this too. If you do something like that, people usually will go along, and it changes things. You have the power to change in a positive way the way that your family is interacting together.
That's really cool. That's a really good idea because, sometimes you're just sitting around or you're just all watching the kids. And, it's to have something.
Especially at mealtime. I mean, obviously, if you're sitting around watching a football game or a baseball game in the U.S. or some sort of a rugby match here in Ireland and Europe and other places, then you're probably not going to want to go, hey, I know we're all watching the telly, or we're all, but if it is a meal,
yeah,
that's an opportunity to galvanize that experience.
Debbie actually says, Debbie, I was actually just on a call with Debbie actually,
Hi, Debbie.
having good boundaries and respecting other people's boundaries in these situations are so important. And Debbie is a hypnotherapist in Cornwall, in the UK.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And that's it. And again, this is why the preparation and the thought is so key. What are your boundaries? We just touched on the idea of, okay, no, if there's conflicting views, no religion, no politics, no talking about, I don't know, cousin Fred that had an affair with cousin, or I don't know, there's all sorts of things, and then he left. I don't know what's going on in people's families, but being aware that there are boundaries, take some preparation so that you don't run into a speed bump or hit a landmine that could have been avoidable.
I know my brother has this one that Baz just mentioned. No
Thanks,
checking
Baz.
social media during the meal. Yeah, my brother.
That is absolutely a tricky one, by the way, because it depends on your who's is it your mom that is the who's coordinating the event, who's the inviter for this thing. If everybody's at your sister's house, does your sister have enough good relations to say, okay, everybody for dinner, phones aren't coming to the table?
Yeah.
I have seen where that one, if anyone is named Fred listening to this, there's nothing personal in my crazy Uncle Fred or obstinate Uncle Fred, or that one person who insists on bringing the phone, doesn't ask permission, boundaries weren't set, and then you're all uncomfortable, or you're all feeling just slightly invisible while they're phubbing you, which is phone plus snub, and they may be unaware. And so this opportunity to say, hey, we're all together for not so many times, so let's leave our phones away from the table. Now, you're probably not going to get every teenager and every person not looking at their phones throughout the entire whatever it is. I'm not talking meal now. If you're going to sit around, watch a movie or watch a game or something, or even playing a game, there might be someone who's looking at their phone, especially the teens. That said, though, parents can make a boundary, and this type of awareness of, hey, we don't get to see great Aunt Sophie that many times. Let's all spend some time with her. Let's all put our phones away. I think that's really important.
That's a really good one, Baz. Well done. And then Anne has said, no talking about people who aren't in the room.
Oh, this one is a killer, isn't it? The family grapevine becomes like chokeweed, doesn't it? The ability for families to talk about and criticize, usually criticize. Be great if they were saying, oh, and cousin Sissy's brand new baby is so beautiful. But usually it's like cousin Sissy's, I mean, there's just this inherent opportunity or tendency, I should say, to go in and start to nitpick on the different family members and things. And so this is where, again, if you can, boundaries. I love that Debbie used the word boundary. I was saying guardrails, but that's it. Hey, we're all, I don't know, putting the dishes in the dishwasher, or we're all cleaning up afterwards. And then someone says, well, did you hear about so-and-so? That's where, if you're in the room, you can say, you know what? I would love for us to keep talking positive. Now, you're going to get pushback probably. Oh, come on, it's just family. We can all talk about each other. If we can't talk about each other, who can talk about each other? It's like, I really would like to not, they're not here to even to defend themselves. If you keep a smile and you try to keep it light, if you start getting disciplinary or judgy to the person who is making essentially a misstep by starting to get into family gossip, you run the risk of elevating or escalating that situation. So be, as I say to any client or any person I work with, be your situational awareness mindset must be focused. So in the instance, for example, that Anna said that we shouldn't talk about people who aren't in the room. Let's say crazy Uncle Fred leaves the room, and now both of you and your sister goes, "Oh, crazy Uncle Fred," and you go, "Oh, I know, but we're so happy to have him here, and our family's so fragile." You can probably move it on differently than if you say, "I just don't think it's right if we talk about people who aren't in the room." Now you sound like a school teacher, and that sister relationship is so tight. She's going to go, "Oh, come on. Ugh. Now I'm going to talk about you being so judgy to me when I go into the next room." So you've got to be very aware that not just what you say, but how you say it. And is that battle worth it? You might have your sister say something about crazy Uncle Fred and go, "Yeah, we still love him." And then you're back to doing whatever you're doing. And you've kind of just diffused. You haven't given any more oxygen to that level. But Anna's exactly right. If I add oxygen, I go, "Yeah, can you believe now we've just the whole situation, haven't we?"
Yeah.
So again, it goes back to the initial thing I said. Own what you can control, and that's your own choices around it. So if you hear something like that go off, that's your reminder to not engage or to try to find a way to, I like humor, especially with family. "Oh, well, Uncle Fred," and then you're done.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. That's a really good tip. Before we wrap up, so we have boundaries, we have getting preparation boundaries, who's coming, plan, think, consider, repair. What else did we cover?
We have some activity ideas to try to elevate this, make the event. The other things that you can do are like everybody bring. You can bring. I know we've all got our mobile, our cell phones anyway, but you could bring disposable cameras and give them to the kids too.
Yes.
You can do things where you're creating. Like my sister has a swimming pool, for example, and only this was one of the first years that they actually had a big beach ball. And we were just in that pool all the time, my 83-year-old mother included, just no net required, just bouncing the ball to each other. And that activity in of itself created engagement, was a friendly, uplifting, constructive time. We were counting how many hits we were getting. We weren't talking about any family members. We weren't talking about any of the boundary topics. And it was a delightful memory piece. So if you can bring some things to add to
Bubbles.
activities.
I highly recommend bring bubbles.
Bubbles. Yes. Who doesn't love bubbles? I don't care what age you are. If you brought bubbles for everybody, including crazy Uncle Fred, poor crazy Uncle Fred. It could change things. Little things like, you know what? I know it's the family gathering, but we're going to have the spoon on the egg on the spoon contest for all the kids and all of us too, or whatever. Or we're going to play pass the parcel. We're going to think a little bit like an event planner if you're the inviter for people. Because what happens, like you said, when families just sort of sit around, that's when the patterns can creep in. When you're redirecting, you can elevate and you can curate a positive experience. And if you think that's going to be too revolutionary, I promise just a little thing. Start small with, okay. And you can identify like, okay, I know we don't normally do this. Maybe it's after grace, or if you say grace, or if you don't say grace. But before we put that first fork in our mouth, I'll kick us off, or I'll just go to you. One good thing that's happened today. Think about what you can do to build those relationships, build those memories, to try to lift up and honor and value your word again, Sam. These people who we didn't choose, but we have in our lives, and we only have one life.
Mm.
So let's try to make it as pleasant, as peaceful, and uplifting as possible. Happiness is a choice. So what are we going to choose?
Gina, that's a great way to end this session. Thank you so much. Thank you, Anna and Baz and Debbie and everybody who's watching. If you're watching the replay,
And
we will be doing, yes.
And you've got families, and we're grateful, and I hope you have a wonderful time with them if it's on a full week holiday or just a barbecue. Sorry,
Yeah.
back to you.
If you're watching the replay as well, do let us know how you get on, if there's any of those actions that you actually implemented at the family get together. And Gina, as always, we'll be doing our monthly LinkedIn Live, so do keep an eye out and connect with Gina too. So thank you so much, Gina.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Happy summer, happy family.
Happy family get together.